Sometimes I come to a piece and I have an idea when I make the piece, and I can carry through with that idea once I get the piece to the glaze state, and it all works out. Other days I really have to work hard to figure out what the piece is telling me and where to go with that. So I have a couple of strategies. One of the things I think is really important is having a sketchbook and drawing. And I think that's important not because you're going to make great art in your sketchbook. This is not about making a drawing as art. There are people who do that, but that's not what this is. This is a workspace for you, and I think it really helps you artistically to do this. I also use a sketchbook to help me decide what to put on a piece. And what I would do is draw the piece and take it to the copy machine, and then I would look at the geography of the piece and decide what was noteworthy or important, or what I would like to emphasize on the piece. This was an oval ewer with a connector between the body and a long spout that I thought was interesting or important, or a feature that I would like to have noticeable. And it's a vertical piece. So one of the things I might do would be to think about if I came up from the bottom and went right and left around that connector, and then down from the top, all this stuff up on the sides and pointing to the connector, all of this makes this connecting piece important. With my motifs, this is what one example of a solution might be. And this is arrived at through years of getting halfway through the piece and then saying, oh, now I know what it should have been, and having to go make the piece over again if you want to really realize that. When you're working on the piece, I know that there are some people who draw with a soft pencil on the base glaze, and I find that that sometimes can scribe the glaze, and then the color picks up heavier in that scribed line, and then you wind up with those lines showing on the final work. So I usually don't draw with a pencil, but I have drawn with food coloring and a liner brush, and that works pretty well. This piece has these really big handles here that go across the piece, so although these come up, they're really pretty blocky, and I might pick up that movement and make something that goes across the piece, whereas on the other tray, there's a real pull toward the ends, and the handles are down below the plane of the top, but there's a real long pull outward. This ends the piece really definitely here and here. I'm going to make some fruit and some leaves, and my leaves are going to be in fall colors, and I think my fruits are going to be fruit that's ripening. So to make fruit, and I'm going to make some of those things happen across the short axis of the piece, echoing the bulkiness of the leaves and the handles and the directions of the handles. So to make my fruit, I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to start with some chartreuse, add a little yellow, a little bit of orange, maybe just a little bit of this mint green color. And I'm going to put some fruit that's ripening. I think that I'm going to put the black lines around the fruit first. There's nothing magical about the black lines. You could look at somebody like Gauguin, who used really beautiful color next to color, or Van Gogh, and look at people who don't use line in that way to develop an edge. The use I make of the black line is really very traditional. It was done in Italian Majolica, and for me it's a convenient device for being able to put down a swash of color and then develop a motif. Okay, so now I know where my fruit is located, and now I'm going to put in some orange and red leaves. So I'm going to double load my brush. I'm going to have a basic orange color. I'm going to put a little red on the edge, maybe a little green on the tip. And I'm going to keep the movement back and forth across here. So I'm going to use the tip of the brush and then heel down and then lift up. There, I like that one better. Okay, I'm going to line the rim, and to do that I'm just going to put my finger on the edge of the rim and use that like a guide, and then just pull my arm across. And if I do that, it's pretty easy to make the line fairly straight. When you're lining, you need a little practice adjusting the viscosity of your paint. And then you have to work on keeping your hand the same distance from the piece. Okay. If you have any little blobs or places that you don't like your line, you can go back and use the edge of a rib or an X-Acto knife and sort of gently touch those up.